They called him the quiet old janitor, a man who swept floors, emptied trash bins, and moved silently through the Navy SEAL training gym as if he barely existed. Most recruits didn't even bother learning his name. Others mocked him behind his back. But one morning, one moment, changed everything. A young trainee barked at him for blocking the walkway. Another laughed as the old man bent down to pick up a dropped towel. And then the SEAL commander walked in and froze, his eyes locked on the faded tattoo on the janitor's neck, an insignia known only to a small, elite group whose missions were never written in history books. The room fell silent, because the man everyone thought was just a janitor was someone the commander had been searching for years. The old man arrived before dawn every day. The recruits never noticed when he came or when he left. He moved like a shadow, quiet slippers, slow steps, a mop in one hand and a worn-out rag in the other. His name was Walter Briggs, though few ever asked. His back was slightly hunched, his hands rough from decades of labor, his short white hair always neatly combed. In the SEAL training gym, adrenaline pumped like electricity. Young men shouted through reps, metal weights clanged, and instructors barked orders that echoed through the hall. Amidst that chaos, Walter swept the corner floors, picking up chalk dust and discarded wraps. He never complained. He never interfered. He simply did his job. But beneath the collar of his red janitor uniform, just barely visible when he leaned forward, was a faded black tattoo, an insignia shaped like a trident, 2 wings, and a small dagger. The design was old, stretched and worn by time, the kind that belonged to a generation long gone. Most recruits noticed it, but assumed it was nothing. Another old biker tattoo. Another forgotten memory on a forgotten man. But on this particular morning, Walter was sweeping near the squat racks when a new trainee, loud, confident, and painfully unaware, stepped in front of him. "Old man," the trainee snapped, "move. You're in the way. And can you even hear me?" Walter lifted his eyes with tired patience. "I hear you," he said gently. The boy rolled his eyes. "Then get out of the path, Grandpa." A few others snickered. Walter simply nodded, stepped back, and moved toward another corner without protest. His silence, his humility, it annoyed some and confused others. But while the recruits laughed, one seasoned instructor, Chief Ramos, watched from a distance. He'd been noticing the old man's unusual calm for months. "Something about him," Ramos murmured. Still no one asked. "Not yet." At exactly 0900 hours, the gym door swung open. Commander Jack Rook walked in, broad-shouldered, so steely-eyed, the kind of man who carried the weight of missions decades old. The entire room straightened up. But the commander didn't look at the recruits. He didn't bark instructions. He didn't even acknowledge the officers waiting for him. His gaze slammed into the old janitor at the far corner. Walter didn't notice. He was wiping down a bench, humming softly. Rook walked closer slowly, each step deliberate, almost disbelieving. That tattoo, that old, nearly extinct insignia, he had seen it only twice in his life. And both times, the men wearing it saved entire SEAL teams. The commander stopped just 3 steps behind Walter. "Where did you get that tattoo?" he asked. The gym fell dead silent. Walter didn't turn. "Long time ago, sir." Rook's jaw tightened. "Who gave it to you?" Walter finally looked up. "The Navy," he said. But the room felt the weight behind those words, a truth deeper than uniform and rank. Chief Ramos stepped forward slowly, eyes wide. The trainees froze. The young recruit who mocked Walter swallowed hard, suddenly pale. Something unreal was happening. Something none of them could have prepared for. And for the first time in years, Walter Briggs lifted his shoulders, standing a little taller. Commander Rook stepped around Walter, studying him as if trying to confirm a ghost's identity. "It can't be," he whispered. Walter's expression shifted, something between resignation and quiet acceptance. He knew this day would come. "You were on Operation Nightfall," Rourke finally said aloud. A murmur spread through the gym. To the recruits, Nightfall was legend. A whispered mission so dangerous and classified that even senior SEALs only heard fragments. A mission where an elite, shadow team saved 12 captured operatives in a region no map acknowledged. But the official record said the entire shadow team died. All but one. Walter sighed softly. "That was a long time ago, Commander." Rourke's eyes glistened, emotions breaking the rigid military veneer. "You were the one who freed my team," he said. "You carried my lieutenant out under fire. You held the perimeter alone for 9 minutes. 9 minutes against 40 hostiles. We owe our lives to you. The room erupted into stunned silence. The recruits looked at Walter, really looked at him, for the first time. This wasn't a janitor. This was a man forged in fire, carved by scars no one could see. The young trainee who yelled at him earlier took a step closer, remorse flooding his face. "Sir, I didn't know," he stammered. Walter nodded. "You weren't supposed to know. That's what serving quietly means." Commander Rourke placed a hand on Walter's shoulder. "Why didn't you tell anyone who you were?" Walter looked at the floor, then around the gym, at these young men training to become warriors. "I've had my time," he said quietly. "The world doesn't need old ghosts telling war stories. It needs strong young men who can write their own." His humility struck the room deeper than any shout ever could. Rourke exhaled and straightened. "Not anymore," he declared. "A man who served like you doesn't sweep floors in my command. Starting today, this gym, this base, every recruit here will know your name." Walter's eyes softened, but he shook his head gently. "Respect is earned in silence, Commander, not demanded." But Rourke wasn't listening. He turned to the trainees. "You salute him," he ordered. "Every one of you." One by one, the recruits formed a line. The same young trainee who mocked Walter moments ago stepped forward first. His voice wavered with emotion. "Sir, thank you. For everything." Walter gave a small smile. "No need for that, son." As the line continued, Walter realized something he had forgotten long ago. He wasn't invisible. He wasn't forgotten. He was remembered where it mattered. When the salutes ended, Walter looked at Commander Rourke. "I'd still like to keep my job," he said softly. Rourke chuckled. "You can keep the job, but from now on, you walk these halls with your head high." Walter glanced around the gym, at faces filled with admiration, not mockery. For the first time in decades, his chest lifted. He stood tall. Like the warrior he once was, and still greatness doesn't always roar. Sometimes it sweeps floors in silence, carrying memories too heavy for words. And sometimes all it takes is one moment, one recognition, to remind the world that true heroes never disappear. They simply choose to walk quietly,